Hey, I'm Jocelyn, and this is the Eats of South Carolina. And I'm here in Ridgeland, South Carolina, and enjoying my trip through the South, as always. And when you come here, there's certain things you can't miss. And let's just start with the obvious, barbecue. So barbecue is all over the South, right? But what makes barbecue in South Carolina special is their sauce. You can find vinegar, and you can find like the ketchup, the tomato base, and those things. But what's really important here is the mustardy sauce. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's so good. And for as many people as make that sauce, there are different recipes for it. But wherever you go, I guarantee you're going to find some really good Carolina barbecue sauce that you're going to want to slather all over that pulled pork, and you're going to enjoy every bite. Another fun dish in South Carolina is frogmore stew. That's right, frogmore stew. No frogs in it that I know of, right? Anyway, frogmore stew is very much like a low country boil. There's potatoes, there's usually kielbasa, some kind of sausage, there'll be corn in it, and shellfish, typically shrimp. Sometimes you'll find crabs in it and things like that. Old Bay seasoning. I don't know that I've ever had frogmore stew without Old Bay in it. But, you know, like everything else, it'll vary by town or even by restaurant, and you'll find a lot of different variations. And I think you'll like every one of them, especially if you like shellfish. So let's talk about a couple 3 drinks I feel like you have to have when you're in South Carolina. Of course, we're in the South, so you have to have sweet tea. That goes without saying. And you'll find some really great sweet teas at different restaurants. And no, it doesn't taste like the sweet tea at McDonald's that you get everywhere else in the country. The other thing you have to try, though, really, is Blenheim's ginger ale. It's hot, it's spicy, and it's gingery. If you are not a big fan of hot things, it may not be for you. But I personally absolutely love it with a little bit of bourbon. So you might want to pick up a case of that whenever you're cruising through South Carolina. Another drink that I think you kind of have to have, and whether or not you drink alcohol, the Charleston bold and spicy Bloody Mary mix is absolutely one of my all-time favorites. So you can absolutely have a virgin Bloody Mary, or, you know, put a little vodka in there and, celery and whatever other things you love to put into your Bloody Marys. But it's like my favorite mix, and it's something I always have to pick up when I'm down this way. I usually get a couple 3 bottles and take it home with me. So if you're in South Carolina, see if you can't find that. So after frogmore stew, or maybe before frogmore stew, she crab soup. Yeah, that one's my favorite. She crab soup is absolutely one of my favorite bisque soups of all time. She crab soup is different from crab soup in that, well, it's a bisque. It's definitely a heavy cream-based sort of soup. But she crab soup not only has the crab meat, but it also has the crab roe in it, which just enriches the flavor. And it's bolder. It's got a lot more depth to it. And I absolutely love some she crab soup. And usually when it's at the table, you'll get it just dressed a little bit with some sherry, dry sherry when it's at the table. Oh my gosh. Y'all, it's so good. You have to taste it. So you can't kind of come to South Carolina and not talk about rice. Carolina gold rice in particular is something that has been here. Folklore says it's been here. It came to Charleston in like the 1600s. So it's been around for a good long time. And I think it sort of disappeared for a little bit of time, but it is back. And Anson Mills actually has brought it back, and they're doing a great job with it. It's a really wonderful rice. It's got an interesting starch to it, so it can be starchy and sticky. It's a long grain, but it's not aromatic. It has a ton of flavor. It's kind of nutty. It's a really beautiful rice. And if you're down here, the other thing I like to pick up and take home with me is grits. Grits down here, like good stone ground grits, are so important in my diet. It's something we always bring home. Big old bag or 2 sometimes of good grits. So you got to have grits. You got to have rice. There's so much rice in Southern cooking, but especially on the coast and throughout the Carolinas. You got to try both of those things. And with grits, there's always shrimp and grits, and there's all sorts of iterations, right? Cheesy grits, whatever. But the important part is to buy really good stone ground grits when you're in the Carolinas. So another dish that is just really home here in South Carolina is Blackeyed Peas or Hoppin' John. And they are sort of 2 different things. Blackeyed peas and rice is like a milder version of Hoppin' John. Hoppin' John's got a lot more kick, more seasoning and things like that. Still sort of the same basic dish, but maybe for different levels of taste buds. But either way, it's something you should really try when you're here. So, when you're down in the South, there are certain staples that you just have to have, like pimento cheese and macaroni and cheese and deviled eggs, meat and threes, collard greens, all those things. Of course, you should try those when you're down here. And they're different at every restaurant and in every kitchen that you eat in. But those are always staples anywhere you are in the South, and you might find interesting variations. When you're on the coast, though, you absolutely have to try to get yourself to an oyster roast. There will be all sorts of kinds of oysters, from oysters Rockefeller, oysters Florentine, fried oysters, oysters on the half shell, all that good stuff. But one of my favorite things to do on the coast is an oyster roast, and you just get these giant bags of fresh oysters and literally throw them out like on a grate over a big old fire, and oh my gosh, really good stuff. So if you have the opportunity, don't miss it. So I think we should sort of finish with dessert, right? And what dessert is more indicative of the South and South Carolina than pecan pie? Go ahead, try and find some. Oh, wait, it won't really be hard because it'll be on just about every menu you see in South Carolina. So you should definitely have that for dessert while you're here. So I'm going to say bye from here in Ridgeland, South Carolina. By the way, we are here at Operation Patriots Fob, and this is a really amazing place for combat veterans to come regroup and refocus and kind of just take it easy for a little bit. And it's really very near and dear to my heart. So if this is something that interests you, there's going to be more information down below. You just kind of click down there on the more info and you'll learn all about Operation Patriots Fob. So anywho, I hope y'all are great and you have these great foods while you're here in South Carolina. See y'all later. The tree's raining on me, isn't it?
Yep.
It's so
Like a little
pretty.
beep.